Hey, what's up guys? Dan here. Today, we got some more news about Squadron 42. So I'm going to be reading out all the new news we got. So, the AI team spent part of the month rolling out the T0 engineer behavior to a key location, which is now fully functional with only a few minor remaining bugs. The work zone used by NPCs repairing things received a large refactor, making it easier for the designers to use within their locations. The team also created the ability to inspect with datapad and inspect with the welding tool at various angles to make it as useful as possible. September saw the AI deliver the Aikido usables using blockout animations with motion capture animations currently in the polishing stage. Search Spot, Railing Lean, Stair Spot, and several others are now considered final and ready to be used throughout the level. The hygiene behavior was updated and is now complete, with the new animations added for the toilet and shower cubicle. This was rolled out with bug fixing underway. Work also began on new gunner behavior. Currently, NPCs find and use ship turrets. The next step will allow them to rush the turrets if their ship is under attack. The story team continued to work through scenes, working closely with the level design on implementation and revision. The facial team created animations for various story scenes, making improvements as new heads came online. Vandal combat continues too, with a focus on melee and searching. September saw the character art continue to up-res existing content, with the most commonly worn outfits scheduled for Q4. When done, the completion status of all characters will be around 85 to 90%. Skin textures and hair were also updated to bring all characters, hero and background, to a next-gen quality level. Environment art continued to work through all campaign locations while leaving enough flexibility to adjust for in-progress design and gameplay elements. In September, the physics engine team continued to optimize the back-end code, including for soft body implementation. Various parts of the relevant collision detection routines were optimized algorithmically by improving their bounding volume, representing and hierarchy. Soft body topology loading and building baking code and memory management were improved too. Additionally, terrain meshes are now flagged so they can exclusively raycast along, with allowing meshes to cluster with a single raycast. Moreover, kinematic parts are now used as a valid moving ground collider on actor entities. For the renderer, work continued on the global draw packet cache. A mechanism was added to rebuild the cache when necessary. Its logic was also refined to prevent the unnecessary recreation of draw packets with identical arguments, which is important for brushes. On a higher level, the Gen 12 render interface is now used for the stat OBJs and render proxies throughout the engine, which makes another step in the transition to the new render paradigm. The shader system saw several changes too. Shader parser initialization was streamlined and the user cache was moved to the Windows App Data folder. This will be rolled out post Alpha 3.15 and should fix a long-standing issue for some users. There were also various changes to refactor and transition code to Gen 12. Regarding atmosphere and volumetric clouds, there have been various improvements to cloud shadows. The stepping code for local cloud shadows has been refined to be easier to control by artists, as well as optimized so that it's not evaluated unless necessary. Aside from self-shadowing, clouds now also cast a shadow onto the entire scene, which has become important for proper scene integration as the team starts to use them on planets as well. Additionally, work to improve rendering cloud edges has been completed, and the parameters exposed to artists to give them a more volumetric look. Research went into various topics. 1. A quick prototype for better rendering of rain clouds was implemented. 2. The integration of cloud shadows into the atmosphere has been implemented, among other things that will allow for light shafts from clouds. And 3. Because of these shadows in the atmosphere, a prototype for improved rendering of multi-scattering in clouds and atmosphere was implemented. It acknowledges the presence of cloud in the atmosphere when it comes to indirect lighting and will also help shading clouds, brighter, more natural with wider tones in shadows, as well as the ambiance of overcast skies and ground, less hazy and bluish, in case of Earth-like planets anyways. These research items are still work in progress and will hopefully mature enough to be shipped within the coming months, with other improvements to rendering quality and performance. On the core engine side, support for the app data access was added to the P4K system. Aside from now storing the user shader cache folder there, the team planned to eventually move all temporary game client files to this new location. The P4K file system was also improved to properly deal with Unicode paths. Work on the performance regression system picked up again with numerous supporting changes, as it's becoming more important to daily progress and development stability. The team also supported server meshing by decoupling code so that it can be run as a standalone service. They started focusing more on optimization too, with certain game scenarios frequently analyzed, reported, and updated. This brought various improvements that will be rolled out post-Alpha 3.15. For example, entity component wakeup was improved by keeping components active for some time. Server objective container streaming code was heavily optimized, and memory allocation when using sig function lambdas was improved. There were various other amendments too, such as moving runtime GPU buffer updates to background threads. The Squadron 42 feature team spent a part of the month looking at the track view performance and how it can best support the complexity of the cinematic sequences currently in production. Alongside several productive optimizations and fixes, sequence updates were broken into smaller individual jobs that can run through the batch update system to make the most of modern multi-core processors. This was a great success, with some sequences seeing a 6-fold improvement. They also moved the character customizer that was previously used in the PU frontend into the campaigns levels. The UI is currently being converted to the building block system, so a major part of the work involved untangling it from the front end so it can be added to any object container in the game. It's now fully working, albeit without the blockout UI. The team is currently assessing where they want to take it in both appearance and usability. The gameplay story team started the month polishing utensil interaction in several mess hall scenes before achieving a technical breakthrough by getting NPCs to walk correctly while holding helmets under their arm. What? Alongside this, they overhauled the Graves Walk and Talk in Chapter 5. Work has also begun on an emergency handle setup involving prop animation, a particle effect, mesh swapping, and entity setup. This is a particularly complicated task, but the setup is nearing completion and appears to be highly accurate. Soon the team will be able to finalize the scene with all separate elements working together. The graphics team made further performance improvements to the render profiles as well as optimization to post effects, terrain rendering, and fog to maintain the same performance as higher resolutions. Alongside this, they improved the water shader. These changes allow shading to be based on available tiled lighting data rather than the nearest environment probe to create more consistent lighting in scenes involving water volumes. They also changed the water volume lighting to take into account volumetrics such as cloud fog, avoiding previous issues where the water volumes would ignore local fog volumes when shading. They also progressed on the render to texture refactor by implementing the region copy for static RTTOs to reuse the existing content instead of re-rendering it. This will ultimately increase performance and save on scene pass usage. They also rewrote the RTTT Atlas packing algorithm to support the new region copy feature. Finally, graphics looked into validation error and collided captured Vulkan analytical information for future extensions. And the Space Dogfight team expanded some of the patrol spaces at the beginning of the game to better work with the new scanning implementation. They also added wildlines to cockpit comms, making them more contextual and granular. The ongoing AI work progressed too, with a specific focus on old man behavior. Level design further fleshed out the FPS play spaces with additional detail, while social design team continued the significant task of implementing all in-game scenes for review and sign-off. Narrative spent part of September supporting art and design on various levels, generating the dialogue and vignettes needed to help populate areas or clarify intended gameplay. They also created environmental storytelling docs to not only dig deeper in the history and character of a location, but also to provide initial ideas for set dressing such as appropriate signage and branding. While working on the placeholder dialogue mentioned in last month's report, the team outlined some tech solutions to remove potential roadblocks in the pipeline. This will be helpful as more requests come in, allowing both narrative and design to quickly iterate on dialogue by hearing it in situ. They also planned a potential performance capture shoot for later in the quarter, with the aim to pick up content originally scheduled before lockdown. This will include a mixture of PU needs and the new Squadron 42 scenes. QA continued to work alongside cinematics on the new chapter content, with the wider team picking up testing until an embedded tester is brought in. The team also supported the ongoing Vandal AI development and general AI function upgrade. Last team, the UI team worked on the Aegis and RSI interface styles so they can be used in various interactive screens. Progress was also made on the upcoming star map rework that will be used in both Public Universe and Squadron 42. Posters and signage were created to make an unrevealed area feel more lived in and realistic too. Finally, for September's report, VFX set up a mini strike team for an epic scene featuring a significant number of enemies. A new particle rig for distant vehicles was created, which allows cinematics to easily animate a whole set of effects on low-poly, non-AI vehicles. This was well received by the cinematics art team. We're looking forward to populating various locations with background action. That is all for this update. I'm incredibly excited for the star map rework, seeing the current one is kind of jank. If you believe I deserve it, please leave behind a like and a subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day, evening, whatever.